This program is about land, the land of Britain. About the way we use it for housing, factories and recreation. And the way we misuse it by pollution, bad planning or neglect. Land is a finite resource. Britain isn't going to get any bigger. But our population has increased enormously over the last few generations. So Britain is now the second most densely populated country on Earth. The pressure on our land resources tends to spread outwards from the towns and cities. We need land for new roads, housing estates, new factories and towns. Agriculture, too, makes increasing demands on the land. Firstly, because existing agricultural land is disappearing under concrete. And secondly, because agriculture itself is expanding. So another hedgerow is grubbed up, another copse is torn down, and a little less land is left for simple recreation. But this program is about another kind of land. The land that got left behind as the cities expanded. There could be houses here, or playing fields. This land could be rich farmland, or pleasant recreational land. We estimate that there are 250,000 acres of forgotten, neglected land around the fringes of our towns and cities. And while the demands of industry, agriculture and government continue to eat away at Britain's countryside, we can't neglect them any longer. But how did this happen, this black belt inside the green belt around our cities? To answer that, let's take a look at one area in particular, in the northwest of England.
If any area can claim to be the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, it's here, in St. Helens and Knowsley. The first canal was dug here in 1757. The first railway ran through here between Liverpool and Manchester. George and Robert Stephenson built this viaduct, and it's still in use today. The first small-scale industries were iron and copper. Then came coal. Shallow mine workings riddled the ground with a maze of treacherous tunnels. Deeper workings piled up heaps of spoil. Clay has been dug here for hundreds of years, but the industry expanded rapidly in the 19th century, cratering the land with worked-out pits. The digging of peat over hundreds of years has also left its mark. Then there was a whole alkali industry based on the Leblanc process, now more familiar to school children than industrialists. At its height, there were over 20 such factories in this area alone, all dumping a variety of wastes upon the land. This long history of industrialization has created some curious local phenomena. The glass industry has systematically stripped the earth of its layer of fine sand, then carefully replaced the topsoil. This accounts for the sunken look of surrounding fields. Another product of the glass industry is the Bergy banks, created literally by glass polishing compounds pumped here as slurry and left to solidify. These authentic-looking strata were laid down over the last 50 years. It's a kind of instant geology. Then there are the hotties, sections of canal where the water is used for cooling in the nearby factories and returned to the canal both heated and purified. Tropical fish were introduced here some years ago, and they're still breeding happily. Vandalism is a more familiar feature of the landscape. Farmers in Knowsley suffer from vandalized and stolen crops, from damaged trees and hedgerows. So the land is not as productive as it should be, and much of its recreational value is lost. Finally comes the long fight against air and water pollution. There have been victories on both fronts, but still more needs to be done.
The Northwest can show us the problems, but it can show us some solutions too. Obviously, if you have a mound in one place and a hole in another, you can use the mound to fill the hole. But it's not quite as simple as that. You can't just walk in and pinch a chap's mound. You have to ask the owner, which means you have to find him. You have to work out what the reclaimed land will be used for. For instance, this factory was built on the site of some old mine workings. But before the bulldozers could move in, they had to pump in pulverized fuel ash under pressure to fill all the uncharted shafts and tunnels forever. You have to know what waste you're dealing with. Some spoil heaps from the alkali industry are just that, alkaline. Nothing can grow on them. But some wastes from the coal industry are slightly acid. So, spread just enough acid waste to neutralize the alkali waste, and you have recreational grassland instead of a poisonous wasteland. But perhaps the greatest local success story is here, in the Sankey Valley, where the first canal was dug. When the canal fell into disuse, it gradually filled up with rubbish, and the whole surrounding area became a local tipping ground. But then, 5 years ago, the St Helens and Merseyside councils began a rescue operation, with financial help from the Countryside Commission, the Rainford Trust, and the Manpower Services Commission. And this is the result. A natural park 5 miles long. For walking, fishing, relaxing, or for studying the many species of wildlife that have returned to this new sanctuary in St Helens. St Helens and Knowsley show us what can be achieved. But this isn't the end of the story, because this area has been chosen to pioneer a new initiative to reclaim those lost acres of derelict land. It's called Operation Groundwork, and it works like this.
Nowadays, all areas of public expenditure are being scrutinized or drastically reduced. So we can't leave the whole job to local councils, especially when there are so many individuals and organizations ready and willing to help. What we need is a single independent organization to bring them all together. The Groundwork Trust was founded by the Countryside Commission, Merseyside County Council, and the Borough Councils of St Helens and Knowsley. But the board will be made up of people from local industry and the farming community, as well as representatives of the Countryside Commission and the local councils. The Trust's headquarters will be here, in St Helens, where the project director will work with a small, permanent staff. The Trust will mobilize the support of local farmers and landowners, companies, parish councils, and voluntary groups. And it will add all this local knowledge and enthusiasm to the resources of government bodies like the Countryside Commission and the local councils. It will also be able to draw on reserves from the Manpower Services Commission, so many worthwhile jobs can be created as well.
In practice, the Trust will have 3 main functions. It'll carry out minor but essential work itself. Small jobs like improving fences and footpaths and planting trees. It'll encourage local councils and amenity groups, industries and landowners to mount larger schemes. These will be funded by government grants, local authorities, and by voluntary contributions. This will be a program of larger schemes, major land reclamation schemes, or smaller scale projects that little by little improve the amenity value or the productivity of the fringe areas. The eventual aim being to create a network of greenways linking town and country with major land reclamation projects, creating new land for industry, housing and recreation. Thirdly comes the job of community liaison, helping children to respect their natural surroundings instead of destroying them, and making everyone more conscious of the mess in their own backyards.
So how can you help? If you are a firm, why not come in and join us? Give us suggestions for improvement schemes. Lend us your expertise in carrying them out. Help us out by loaning machinery and manpower, as well as cash donations. Then take a look at your own premises and encourage all your staff to take more care of its appearance. Farmers and landowners can help by showing us how to improve the productivity of their land or add to its recreational value by planting more trees or woodlands for people to enjoy. Schools can teach their pupils how to enjoy the countryside instead of vandalizing it. Use facilities like the Ranger Centre in the Sankey Valley, or let them get involved in the work itself, learning practical skills from trained instructors. Public bodies like local authorities should keep up a dialogue with the Trust so that all the various projects can work towards the same ends. And of course, you can always help as an individual. Join us as a volunteer, patron or sponsor. Give us a little of your time or special talents, or help us with an endorsement or subscription.
We won't reclaim all Britain's forgotten acres in a week or so. Many projects will take years to complete. But help us begin to clear up the debris of the Industrial Revolution, where the Industrial Revolution began, here in Merseyside. The wasteland, or the green and pleasant land. You can make the difference through Operation Groundwork.